and today I'm going to show you how to do a check mark cradle carry in a ring sling. This is a hold that I teach actually quite a bit. I find that it's a very natural way that caregivers carry their babies. I find that a lot of babies that prefer to be carried this way. This is a great carry for a small infant who is a nosy little thing and wants to be looking at everything, wants to take everything in, is refusing to be face in, that isn't old enough to really face out, doesn't have the head and neck control yet to face out. So this is a good hold for them. They can see around a little bit better. So I want to talk about cradle carry just a minute before we actually start putting babies in, because for a while there the community seemed to be a little bit hesitant to recommend cradle carry. Folks felt like it wasn't safe. There was this idea that that cradle was really unsafe. Well, my cardinal rule for baby wearing is that baby wearing should always mimic the way we hold in arms. And what I realized as an educator was that I was watching tons of caregivers hold their babies naturally in a cradle carry. So cradle carry in and of itself could not have been dangerous, or we wouldn't hold our babies like that. Like it's just not, instinctively we wouldn't hold babies like that if it were inherently dangerous. So I really started looking at the way caregivers hold babies in arms in a cradle carry, and then how do we mimic that in a ring sling or in a carrier of some kind. So I'm going to show you real quick with, I have a 4-month-old here. His name is Finnegan. We call him Finn or Finny Finn. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how we carry in arms first, and then I'm going to show you how to do it in a ring sling. So, come here, baby boy. Come here. Yeah. Let me get you. Okay. So what you'll notice in the way that I'm carrying him is a couple of things. First of all, he's very high. I'm not carrying him down here. I'm not carrying him below my breast. I'm carrying him up high on my chest, high above my breast. He's still close enough to kiss. And also, if you notice his body positioning, and I'm going to kind of move my arm just a little bit so that you can see, he's kind of in this check mark position. So he's not laying completely flat. He's kind of up like this. Now this isn't the only way that you can carry, and there are different ways that you can do a cradle carry, and you can do a cradle carry safely. So I'm not saying that if you do a cradle carry differently that you're doing it unsafely. This is just the way that I like to do it and the way that I find it to be easy. The other thing that you'll notice here is that his arm is against my chest. It's not back like this. Although I do carry him like this in arms, I'll show you once I get him into the sling why when I do a cradle carry in a sling, why I prefer to have both shoulders against my body and not one tucked in behind me. So this is what we're going to try to mimic with a ring sling. I want his head nice and high. It's very easy for me to monitor that his chin is off his chest. You notice that his head is also not covered with my arm. I don't have him in here anyway. I'm supporting his neck and his head, but it's not covered in any way, and he still has plenty of room to move his head however he wants to move that. Isn't that right? Isn't that way? Did you lose your binky? I know you lost your binky. Okay, so let me put him down and I'm going to grab my sling real quick. Alright, so I already have my sling threaded. I have another video on my channel that shows how to thread a ring sling and how to do a basic tummy to tummy front carry in a ring sling. So find that one if you need help with either one of those. But you'll notice that before I put a ring sling on, especially if I haven't used it in a while, then I do a quick finger walk to make sure that it's not too terribly messed up there in between the rings. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. And I like this sling a lot because this is one of the reasons why it's my educator sling, because of the stripes. So it's very easy for me to see which side I'm working with in the tail, in the body of the sling. So generally, when I do, and you've seen in my if you've watched my tummy to tummy video, that I put baby in and put them in like I make a tube out of the fabric and put baby in on the tube. So I'm still going to do that, because what I like to do is I like to, when I do cradle carry, I go from a tummy to tummy positioning. And I do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, I like to build on skills that caregivers already have. So if you already know how to put baby into your ring sling in a tummy to tummy carry, then you've already got the start of this cradle carry. I also like for caregivers to know that they can go back and forth between a cradle carry and a tummy to tummy without having to take baby back off. So you can put them down in cradle, bring them back up to tummy if they decide that's what they want, put them back down, back and forth. So let me get him real quick. Yeah, you got your Vicky. You playing with your Vicky? All right, so I'm going to put him up on my shoulder like I'm going to burp him. I'm going to come up underneath the sling here. I'm going to guide his feet down. I'm going to let him sit on that, and I'm going to pull the top up. Now, this is as far as I'm going to go for right now. I'm not going to make the seat here because I don't need to. But I do, like I said, I like to load in this way because I feel like I like to build on skills that caregivers already have. So we start out like this. With the way I've put him in here, I need a little bit of extra room to work with. So I'm going to hold his weight. I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra room to work with. Now, I'm going to grab this bottom third, that part that I would normally tuck up underneath and make a seat out of, and I'm going to pull that in between me and him. And you can see he's just snuggling in. He's ready to go. He's been sitting down for too long. He needs to be on mama. So I'm going to hold his weight, and I'm going to take his legs, and I'm going to move them to the side, just like I would if I were holding him in arms. I'm starting to kind of create this positioning that I had. So I'm kind of going to create that positioning so that I can kind of feel that, and then we're going to take the sling and mold it around. So I'm going to take that bottom third, and I'm going to tuck it all the way up in between me and baby. And I'm going to see if I'm going to move here, move my sweater, see if you can see how I have that all the way up in between me and baby. So he has lots of fabric to sit in. Here, let's get your arm. So we're going to go like that. So now I'm just kind of getting him into some good positioning. You'll notice that his feet are out, that this bottom rail is near his knees or below his knees. This keeps him from sliding out the bottom. And I'm going to tighten that up just a tiny bit. And then now I'm going to tighten up through the middle a little bit. And then finally that last part. So this here, I've got a little bit of slack there, so I'm going to take out that slack. There we go. And you can see how it's kind of holding his head here at the base of his neck, but it is not over his head. And the reason for that is that right there is going to encourage his chin to go down onto his chest. So I can actually take a little bit of this top third, and kind of roll it just a little bit and tighten it up. And that gives me just a little bit of a headrest. I can take some of the tail and do the same thing, or I can take a washcloth as well. What I find is that if I do that with the tail, then I no longer can adjust the carry. So now he's got both shoulders. Where'd your binky go? Where did you lose? Oh, there it is. I see it. There it is. So you can see he's got both shoulders. You actually kind of can't see, but he has both shoulders towards me. He's in this nice check mark position, just like he was in my arms. If I put my arms back, he is just exactly the way I would carry him if I were carrying him in a cradle position in my arms. He's still close enough to kiss. He's well above my breast. His back is nice and supported, and it is very, very easy for me to monitor and ensure that his chin stays off his chest. In fact, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit easier if I have a baby that I'm watching very, very carefully. It's almost easier for me to watch in this position and can see that his chin is off of his chest. So, let me see. Yep, there we go. So you can see that his back is nice and supported, and he's got that nice check mark position. His head is not covered, it's out. He can look around. You can see him looking at the camera. Like I said, this is a great position for those nosy little tiny babies that are not old enough or strong enough to face out yet, but who want to see, who don't like to be face in, who want to see all of the things. So if I wanted to feed in this position, if I wanted to bottle feed in this position, I could pretty much go ahead and go the way it is. If I wanted to nurse, what I would need to do is give myself a little bit of slack, drop down just a little bit, and you do a combination of lowering baby to breast and bringing breast to baby. You can see he's feeling not as secure, so that's why he's grabbing onto my shirt. So I would latch him on, tighten back up, and keep a close eye on him because he's further away. Anytime you're breastfeeding, you want to make sure that, or feeding in general actually, you want to make sure that you're actively paying attention to what is going on. And then once he was done, yes, if he were done, then all I would need to do is bring him back up in my arms to that higher positioning. Just bring him back up to a point to where it feels natural to hold. And give me a little arm. There we go. And then just tighten that back up. So as you can see, I am still hands-free. With a teeny tiny baby, I do kind of brace their neck, or I make a little bit of a headrest. Real quick note that I should have mentioned with the headrest before, if you are putting anything in this top rail, a washcloth, the tail of the sling, anything, you want to make sure that you don't overfill, because what can happen is if you overfill this headrest, it will actually encourage babies to go chin to chest. So it will actually force their heads down. So if we're making a headrest, we want to make sure that their head is nice and still has plenty of room to move, and that they're leaning back on the headrest, and that the headrest is not forcing their chin forward. So, you want your binky? You want your binky? You want your binky? Yep. So, and then if you wanted to go back to tummy to tummy, all you would do is give yourself some slack. Always hold baby's weight. Bring them back up here. This is the nice thing about a ring sling. A ring sling molds to a baby. So you would just bring them back up to that tummy to tummy positioning. Take that bottom third, make your seat. And then tighten up, bringing your slack around to the front if you can. And then now we're in tummy to tummy positioning. So we can go back and forth as baby needs. So that's how to do a check mark cradle carry in a ring sling.